the right.
Hi, I'm Edwin Kaplan. I'm the violist of the Tesla Quartet, and I'm joined today by Kerwin Young, one of the 12 composers we've commissioned for our project called Alternating Currents, which is a response piece not only to the times now, but to Beethoven's work. So, Kerwin, thank you for writing this piece for us. It's a fabulous piece, and thanks for joining me today for this little chat.
Thanks, Edwin.
Now, Kerwin, you have a fantastic biography. I mean, anybody reading it would be like instantly impressed by all the accolades you've received. You're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You have music spreading across genres, and I have to ask you right off the bat. Obviously, you have a strong interest in music, but what made you want to expand through so many genres? You've written stuff for orchestra, you've written stuff for hip hop groups. What's driving you to cover so much?
Yeah, I think it has to go back to when I was real small. Like my dad, he was a jazz trombonist. My mom sang in a church choir, and there was always a lot of music in the house. My oldest brother, who's 10 years older than me, he always had the radio on. There were always and back then, I grew up watching Hee Haw, country show, watching a lot of TV westerns with my dad. Disney movies. We would go to operas, plays. So I was exposed to a lot of different music as a child growing up. And when I got older and started producing, a lot of the music that I made, the first records I made ended up in film. And so that drew my attention to want to explore more into various other forms of music production, and then getting into film and TV expanded my horizon and interest to want to write for orchestra, because having a sustainability or a career in that area, I needed to get my chops up for orchestrating and just learning instrumentation. So
With orchestras, instrumentation is such an interesting endeavor because you have so many different timbres. But I imagine it must be very fulfilling to work in to be able to bring your jazz influences and your hip hop influences into your film music and your classical music. When we were asking you to write a piece for us, we had indicated that the focus was going to be Beethoven, and you told us right off the bat that that especially today Beethoven's music, the relevance of it is sometimes in question, and you even said you didn't know the piece that well and didn't know how you would really incorporate it, but I feel like you did a fantastic job just bringing your own voice into it. So were there any struggles or just how did you perceive that connection with Beethoven? Were you trying to sort of break away or embrace, or
Yeah, my initial thought was like, Beethoven's so popular. I mean, everyone knows his music, and just about all of his works have been arranged to some degree, And what could I do with a piece that's been performed, for so many hundreds of years, and I looked at the intervallic relationships between the pitches and to try to come up with a new spin on it and to write something from my perspective, but using elements from Beethoven's quartet. And so that's the route that I took because for me to actually do a twist on what he actually wrote and to include the motivic element, for me it would just be like, okay, I'm just doing something that I think the Tesla Quartet would say, okay, well, this is cool, we'll play it, and people listening and be like, yeah, okay, that's nice. But for me, I wouldn't be satisfied, because it's like I like to create, and that would be kind of stifling my creative capabilities. So I just wanted to dig into the piece and pull out something that's there that's just overlooked and use that, but and write something fresh.
I'm so glad you did, actually. And the piece you wrote, it's kind of it's almost like a demand on society to come together around this idea: peace on the left, justice on the right. Um, it's in a very impassioned work, and I love playing it. I have to note, though, that my impression of it is that it's somewhat optimistic. Do you see, is that optimism part of your music? Was it intended, or is that just the way I'm seeing it?
Well, there's a lot of optimism in all of my work because I'm always, looking at, hey, things can be, better. But this
Mhm.
piece was also inspired by George Floyd's brother was speaking on a news conference, and he mentioned he quoted "Peace on the left, justice on the right," and I was like, wow, that would be a good title. So I wrote it down and I used that. So
It's
yeah, but
excellent. I mean, we had such a fun time playing it, and I mean, especially in today's climate, there's so much racial tension in the country, and it's important that we can have voices expressing themselves and being heard all throughout. So, do you find that this music is representative of an uh, a voice for change? Is that how you want to? Is that how you're trying to push the music out?
yeah, I think so. And just holding close to my beginnings with Public Enemy and just using music, for social commentary. That's something that I've never strayed away from. I've done my best to maintain that throughout my career. Just to use music for, like John Coltrane said, as a force for good, and because it's a voice, and why not use the voice of music and for humanity at large. So that's been my thing, and that's with this piece is no different.
Oh, well, that's a really beautiful message. And we're so glad that you wrote it. Thank you so much for your contribution to this project. And we really hope that our listeners enjoy your music as much as I do. It's just such a fantastic work. It's been so much fun to record. So thank you very much, Kerwin, for your contribution. And thank you for this conversation today. It's been really, really fun.
Thank you for having me and commissioning me.